Hey guys, today we're going over multiplying fractions. This time I'm actually going to go over the notes that we did in class so you can look over your notes and kind of follow along with me. Hopefully this is the second time that you are seeing this since we did it together in class. So we're multiplying fractions, and when you have these boxes right here, this is a model of what multiplying fractions looks like. Okay, so that's why it says visual model. Okay, so when I see my first fraction, well, so far our problem is 2/3 times 4/5. That is our problem. And this first fraction, when I'm modeling, I like to think that this first fraction is telling me how many columns I'm looking at. Okay, so out of my three columns, I have 2, or I'm shading in 2 out of my 3 columns. Okay, so I'm going to use a yellow highlighter to show 2/3, or 2 out of my 3 columns. Okay, so here's my 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 columns, 2/3. And then my second fraction, I like to think that this is telling me how many rows I'm looking at. Okay, so I have columns and rows. So I shaded in 2/3, or 2 out of my 3 columns, and now I'm shading it in 4/5, or 4 out of my 5 columns. So you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, and I'm going to shade in with a pink highlighter this time my 4 rows. Okay, so we have my columns right here and we have my rows. Now what's happening with our answer when we're multiplying fractions, it's as if I'm taking this box and I'm picking it up and putting it on top of this box. I'm putting both my columns and my rows together. And when that happens, as you can see, I still have 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. I'll go ahead and shade that in with yellow just like we did over here. Okay, so as you can see, again, this is exactly what we have right here. We have 1, 2, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3 columns, and I've shaded it in 2. And then now we're looking at our rows. We have the same number of rows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and I shaded in 4. So right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and I'm going to shade in 4 with yellow. And I'm going to do this right on top of this yellow. I'm sorry, with pink right on top of the yellow. So when we're multiplying and we're looking by models and we're looking at this model, you can see that my 2 yellow columns is sitting right on top of my 4 pink rows, or my 4 pink rows is sitting right on top of my 2 yellow columns. My answer is, well, let's look at this. You can see that this box right here is left empty, right? It's unshaded. These 2 boxes have only yellow in it. These 4 boxes have only pink in it, but your answer, what you're looking for, is how many boxes are double shaded. How many of these boxes have both the yellow and pink in it? You see this right here? This is where it kind of turned orangish. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes that are double shaded. So our answer is going to be 8. Out of how many boxes are there total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so my answer is 8 out of 15. Again, with the model, we're looking at what is double shaded. This area right here is double shaded, and there are 8 boxes. These boxes only have pink, these boxes only have yellow, and this one's not even shaded. So we're looking at the 8 double shaded out of the 15 total boxes. All right, so for example 2, we have 2/5 times 1/4. 2/5 times 1/4, and I'm going to use this little sheet that we used here during class. Do you remember this? All right, and I have my patty paper. So my first fraction is 2/5. So out of my 5 boxes, I'm going to shade in 2. I'm going to use yellow. Okay, so here's my 2/5. I'll write that down. This is 2/5. So out of 5 columns, I shaded in 2. All right, so we have 2/5 times 1/4. I'm gonna take some patty paper, which I will always have in class for you. If you'd like to use some, just ask me for some. I'm gonna draw my box. Okay, so this is still visual models. This is just a different way for us to show this. That might be easier for you to use. Okay, so here's my first fraction, and this fraction is 1/4. So I'm multiplying 2/5 times 1/4. So I have my columns. I'm gonna make my own rows. So I'm gonna make 4 rows here, and I'm gonna shade in one of these four rows. I'm gonna just use lines this time so I can see underneath. Okay? And when we're multiplying these two fractions, what you're doing with our models is you are putting these two fractions together. So let's look at what happens when I put these two squares together. Now you can see that I have my columns still underneath, and I have my rows on top. And when I put them together, my answer is how many have both the yellow and the Sharpie. So how many of these boxes have both the yellow and the Sharpie? These two right here, right? These are the only boxes that have both the yellow from underneath and the Sharpie from on top, right? So these boxes have only highlighter, these boxes have only Sharpie, and these boxes are empty. So our answer when we multiply 2/5 times 1/4 is going to be 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 2 out of 20. Because we have 2 boxes that have both shadings that are double shaded out of 20 total boxes. Okay, so that is one way for you to do this. I will always have this type of paper for you to use if you need to use it for a test or a quiz or homework, whatever it is. Just come ask me for some of this patty paper. Okay, let's do one more example. Example 3, 6/8 times 1/7. So this 8 tells me how many columns. This 7 tells me how many rows. I'm gonna make 8 columns. So I'm gonna draw a line the length of 8 cubes going across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not gonna shade in all 8 though. I'm gonna shade in 6. The 6 out of 8. So I'm just gonna circle these 6 so I know that's how much I'm shading in. And then I want to make my box. I don't know how long it is, but I do know that my rows, I have 7 of them. So I'm going to go down and make a line that is the length of 7 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one more, 7. Okay, but I'm not going to shade in all 7. I'm going to shade in 1. Okay, so I'm just going to circle this 1. Let's go ahead and make our box. Okay, so let's show our columns. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to use yellow highlighter to shade in, 8. We have 8 columns. Shade in 6 of them though. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there are my columns. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw my rows on top of this. I'm done with my columns. Now I'm looking at rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. I'm not going to shade in all of them. I only want to shade in 1 out of my 7. 1 out of 7 rows. So I shade this in. Okay, so now my answer is going to be how many boxes are double shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are double shaded out of 56 total boxes. Okay, so if you counted all these boxes, you would get 56 total boxes. So 6 are shaded out of 56. And then I can simplify this. 6 over 56 can be simplified. We know they're both even, so they can both be divided by 2 at least. Divide this by 2. Divide by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 56 divided by 2 is 28. Okay, and then I cannot simplify this, so this is my answer. 3 out of 28. All right, but there's a trick to this. If we don't want to do all the drawing and whatnot, there's a trick to this. Right here. What do you notice? We noticed, let's look at our problems again. We noticed that 6 are shaded, but our trick is, look at this. If we cover up this denominator, 6 times 1 is 6. 8 times 7 is 56. So our trick when we are multiplying fractions is to multiply across. And this will always work. With any fractions you are multiplying together, all you have to do is multiply straight across. So let's look at this. 1/6 times 2/4. Multiply straight across. We're going to multiply our top times the top. 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 4 is 24. And then we could simplify by dividing by 2. Get 1/12. That is our answer. Okay, so we didn't really need to draw the model, though the model can help you. And if you would like to draw the model, please feel free to. And you'll be expected to look at the model and know what fractions are being multiplied. But this is our trick. We multiply straight across. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we could divide both of those. You could divide by 2, but I also know that 6 and 12 can also be divided by 6. All right, 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And so our answer is a half. All right, so I hope that helped a little bit. For multiplying, again, you can use this model if you would like. If you're given this model and you're expected to know what two fractions are being multiplied together, you just gotta look at it as columns, so 2/5, and then look at it as rows, 1/4. So 2/5 times 1/4 gives you this answer. Again, the answer is how many boxes are double shaded over how many boxes we have total.